Hey guys, so I said I was going to make a video about what went on there on Friday. I made the last video I put up was from Thursday, and after that video, in there I talked about that I wanted to just have a normal day at work, and so I guess I should have seen it coming that, I don't know, I'm just getting used to things like how it feels with my new medication, my ADHD meds, and how it's affecting me. I have a lot of anxiety. And it's hard to interpret what that means. Like, is it a side effect from the ADHD meds? Or is it just autistic traits being, like, coming out more? Because it does seem like specific things really bother me a lot. Like, about my routine being disturbed. Because this is what happened. I went into the weekend already. Well, I went to the ER one day because I had chest pain. That was on Thursday. Last Thursday. No, like the one before. And I was fine. Everything was fine. And they explained to me that chest pain that actually has to do with your heart is a different experience. And they explained to me how it is. It feels like, he said, your brain is not good at interpreting something being wrong with your heart. Like it's more of like a generalized all over your chest, like heaviness feeling. Although I do also know that heart attacks can be harder to recognize in women because it's just not as well studied. I think I heard a Stuff Mom Never Told You episode about that, which is a podcast. Um, but anyway, so I was fine, and he reassured me about my medication, my two medications that I'm taking together, which is Effexor and Vyvanse. So it was really good. Um, but just it was really late. Like I left at like maybe 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. and I ended up being there till almost midnight, of course, because I had to wait a long time. It was the ER. So, yeah, but I came away very much reassured. But then I just, like, was lacking sleep for the next day. But anyway, then the next day, I got an email back from my therapist who I had decided to break up with. And I found it stressful. So I kind of went into the weekend with that stress of the knowing that I had to respond back to this therapist. Like, she sent me an email and she said, like, that she was fine with me wanting to switch, of course. And, like, of course she could switch. Um, and then she came out with a list of things that we had accomplished together. Which to me, it felt kind of like she was, like, bragging about how much she had done with me. Which seemed just weird because, like, I was feeling like it had gone badly. So badly. Like, in my mind, I was like, how could you possibly have not, like, how could she possibly have thought that everything was going well? Because I was, like, so shut down whenever I was trying to talk to her. Like, it was such a struggle. Like, I was crying a lot, too. And I wasn't being forthcoming. That's what I thought. It had to be obvious that I wasn't being forthcoming. Because, like forthcoming is my middle name, right? I'm forthcoming. Very much. In inappropriate times, too. So anyway, yeah, I took a while to think about this whole thing of everything that she had said. And like the first thing that she said, I was like picking it apart in my journal. That's how I process things. I'm a verbal processor, so I do it with writing too. I did talk to my husband a lot about it, but then I was like, okay, I'm kind of spinning. I'm not gaining something here. So I wrote about it, and the first thing on the list of things that we had accomplished together was getting me to have virtual care. Some of the things on the list, it was like, that wasn't actually her. But then after I thought about it a bit, I was like, oh, maybe she didn't realize. Because she signed me up for virtual care, which, to get that, you have to not have a family doctor, and you have to sign up for, like, the registry to get a family doctor. So she listed one of the things that we accomplished together as that I got a doctor. which that was not actually the result of that, but she didn't know that. But anyway, the first thing was about virtual care. It had gone so bad. Like, I was really struggling to just be able to do it because it was online. And part of her instruction about how to do it was to just Google virtual care or something like that. It was a little longer, slightly more specific. But I had a really hard time with it. And then, so I guess probably I waited 2 weeks till the next session. And then I told her that, like, I hadn't done it yet. And I said that I tried to do it. So then she, like, we went on with the session. And she still expected me to do it again. And she mentioned how I could ask someone for help. Maybe I could ask someone around me. Which I'm very uncomfortable with asking for help. So, like, it was an issue. I knew that that would be an issue. Like, I was afraid about that I was going to have to ask for help. So, I tried to do it again, and I was getting so freaked out because I was desperate. Like, I came to her because of, like, I went to the hospital and said, I'm going to kill myself. So they got me to go to urgent care, and they got me hooked up with a social worker for temporary until I could get a therapist. That's how I got to her. So, like, she knew about this, that it was a really big issue. And, like, I wasn't on any medication. And I would tell her, obviously, that, like, I'm having a really hard time. Like, I think about suicide. She knew that. So, I said to her, I texted her. She had texted me before. So that's why I thought it would be okay to text her. So I texted her and said, can you actually help me get virtual care? Because, like, I'm trying to do it and I can't get it. And then she explained how the texting is really just for if you need to cancel an appointment. Which I was like, okay, I understand. Like, all right. And then, but I was really upset. And then I sent her another message that said, I feel like killing myself. Because I was so upset. I was so freaked out. Like, I was trying to get out of this horrible feeling. And I wanted to get medication. And I couldn't do the thing that I needed to do to get to a doctor to get the medication to help. Like, I was so desperate. So then she sent me, I think, what was clearly just an automated response. Like, she did do something. She sent a thing that said about, like, crisis lines and stuff, people that I could call. And I just felt like she completely didn't give a shit about me. So rehashing all that, like, that wasn't good for me. So then she had said, she was asking me the question on the email on the Friday. She said, so what do you want to continue working on with the therapist so that I can pass it on to them? And because of that question, I got so freaked out by that question because I was like, I don't know. And we had talked about it in session too before that, like, I don't know the answer to that. You're freaking me out. Like, what are my choices? Like, what do you mean? So, I just quickly shot back because of that one question. I said, okay, just never mind. I just won't have a therapist anymore. Just, like, forget the whole thing. And then she realized what had happened, that, like, she had freaked me out with that. And she sent me an email back and said, why don't you think about it over the weekend? And she offered choices. Like, she said a few things, like, here's some examples of stuff that you could work on with another therapist. So then I kind of had it hanging over my head for the whole weekend. Anyway, so with Christmas coming, everything was just going kind of nutty, right? So my routine was disturbed at the end of that week, and I was a bit bothered for the weekend about this whole thing with the therapist. Like, it took me time to deal with that, and I knew that I was expected to respond after the weekend. Then Monday, I had to make a phone call first thing in the morning, and I switched, because I wanted to switch my doctor's appointment to check in on my meds so that my son could have the appointment, because he got a last minute appointment for the Tuesday. And I was like, I just want to switch so that he can be seen first because he's not feeling good, and then I'll go on Tuesday. So I had to make that phone call, And then I had to decide what to do with my son, like, was he was supposed to go to school. So I decided to keep him home and got him to that appointment. So that was one work day that was screwed up, like with my routine. My strongest part of my routine is going to work. Going to work is what makes things seem like it's still going to be okay to me. So then the next day also, I had interrupted work because I had a doctor's appointment myself. So that was Tuesday. Then Wednesday, um, something happened where I couldn't go to work because there was someone who was going to be there that I just can't be around. I can't deal with being around them. It freaks me out too much. So I refuse to be at work when there's a chance of me having to interact with him. So I didn't go. And then Thursday is when I made that video. And after making that video, like, that did change. I felt really good about that, because from realizing during making that video that I should ask my husband to help me, because as soon as I got that appointment, like, I knew I was lucky to be getting that car appointment, but it was just upsetting to me because I knew it meant that I was going to have another day of not a normal work day. I was going to have another day of all this, like, running around and stuff. And it really does bother me. It bothers me a lot. Like, I can keep trying to accomplish things, but, like, there is a consequence. So I did talk to my husband and I said, can you get the car, like, change the snow tires, go to the car appointment? And I thought, like, maybe he could do all the stuff. He could even pick up the kids, too, and do the Christmas shopping. And after we talked about it, he said for me to do a grocery order. So I did. Like, so that way he could just pick it up. But it didn't work out to be at the right time. But anyway, so he agreed to help. In the morning, I decided already that that I would pick up the kids. That way he didn't have to worry about being back in time to pick them up. Because he had the car appointment at noon, and they get picked up at 2. So, and I thought, that'd be fine, because I always have to pick up the kids every day. So that is a part of my normal routine. Like, my alarm goes off, I go pick up the kids, and then whatever, bring them home if he's home, or bring them to work with me, and I can work more if I am up to it. Anyway, so then Friday comes, and things started to go wrong real fast. Somebody had a health thing where she was having a lot of pain, and she was supposed to be getting some groceries for my husband's grandma. So then it switched who was going to be coming to be my husband's cousin. So then I talked to him and said, when you go to drop off the groceries, wait there for my husband, because that way we can move our old car out of the driveway so that she can get plowed, because it was going to be a storm that night. So I arranged that. Then while I was at work, he messaged me while I was working, which I'm not good with, like, being interrupted at work. I'm very rude to people if they call me. So he messaged me and said, oh, I'm not actually going. They decided to send a different kid, like one of my husband's other cousins. And then I didn't arrange that. Well, I asked him if he had told them that they had to wait for my husband, but he didn't answer. So then when I went to the school to pick up the kids, I drove past the grandmother's house and saw the car was still there, and there was no other car there. So I knew that no one was waiting. And then I started freaking out, because I was like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to move this car. And I just couldn't handle it anymore. It was only in hindsight that I understood that, like, all these days of all this running around, all these days of not having just a normal work day and just normal things that I do, like being in situations that I understand. The amount of time that you spend in situations that you understand is important. Like, having to act like, oh, I'll just roll with the punches. No, I fucking won't. I'm not gonna roll with the punches. I don't roll with the punches. Like, this is something I'm trying to accept about myself. Like, I've always wanted to be a chill person, and I'm not one. I'm just not. I try to act like one. Like, that's just masking, isn't it? Yeah. So then I came back home with the kids and I tried to make a phone call in the van with them, which my phone is such a piece of shit. I couldn't hear anything, and I had the kids still in the van with me. And then my daughter opened the automatic door of the van during the phone call, so I'm like struggling to hear. I'm trying to call a tow truck because I was just like, this is not happening. Like, that car is getting moved. She's gonna be able to plow. And then my husband was like, I don't know why you're freaking out. And it's like, don't you? Like, but I was freaking out more than I needed to be because this had been kind of the plan all along that me and him were going to try to move the car together. Like, things had gone wrong with the plan, but it's possible we would have still been able to deal with everything. Maybe we could have. But it was just freaking me out so much, and I was thinking that also maybe we couldn't move the car by ourselves. Like, maybe it wouldn't be possible, and then how were we going to do it? I just wasn't going to stand for it that that car was going to still be there and she wouldn't be able to get her driveway plowed. Like, it was a fucking disaster in my mind. So I was so mad. And then I started texting people. I actually wrote out a text to my husband because I realized that he was the one who I should be angry at because of us not getting this done ahead of time. Like, I would have been so much more comfortable if this was all done. Like, why would you leave it to the last minute? It freaks me out so much. Leaving things to the last minute is like, I can only pretend to be okay with that. I'm so not okay with it. Like, it freaks me out so much. I fly by the seat of my pants quite a bit. Like, combination ADHD and autism is fun. I do make myself fly by the seat of my pants. Like, sometimes it's my own fault why things have been left to the last minute, for sure. But it does make me feel very tense. Like, if I'm afraid I'm going to be late, or if I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get something done, like, it's like ratchet up the intensity. So, I did start writing out a text to him, but then I deleted it because I was scared. I was too scared to say something angry to him. Like, I felt afraid that maybe he was going to do something. Like, what if he started drinking and he's quit drinking? And that scared me. And also, I just thought, like, well, what if he's really mad? Like, what if when I come home he's really mad? It just scared me. It was so scary to be mad at him. Like, it was really hard. So then I didn't. And I talked to someone else. And plus, I was at the grandmother's house with my kids. So, like, I was being so intense. Like, I was pacing around and I was saying things, regrettable things. Like, I was saying, fucking idiots, everyone, and stuff like that, you know? Regrettable. And then the grandmother's there and she's like, who are you mad at? Or, like, who are you talking about, you know? And it's like my anger was spreading out over very many people. But my husband's cousin that didn't come, like the one who did come and bring the groceries for the grandmother, she was the one who I started texting. And over time, like, I've tried to make friends with her so much. And also, I've defended her to her own family when she wasn't there. Many times. I've tried to be friendly with her at different times, like, but it just never was working at all. Like, I sensed that it wasn't working. I didn't think that we were friends. Our relationship was basically not a thing. It's like we know each other. We are nice, kind of. Not friends. Definitely not friends. Like, when I try to text her, it's not like a texting conversation is happening. It's like, yeah, one back and forth, maybe not even answer. Like, so I was talking to her. I definitely shouldn't have been because I was way too mad. And I asked her a couple questions and I pissed her off. Like, I was in the wrong. I definitely shouldn't have been talking to her. I shouldn't have been around people. I even said that to the grandmother too. I was like, I shouldn't be around people right now. Like, maybe I should just go outside and stay out there. Like, I shouldn't be around my own kids when I'm like that either. Like, fuck. So anyway, I pissed her off. I ended the conversation, part of the conversation with, I look forward to you hating me forever. That's how intense it was. And I kind of felt like just like I wasn't really losing anything because it's like she already didn't like me. It's not like there was something to lose. There wasn't. But there was, like, well, Christmas dinner is at their house, like their mom's house, which is where they live. So I knew this would affect Christmas dinner. Even if she would forgive me, like, I apologized to her. Even if she would genuinely really be able to forgive me and it not bother her, which I doubt very much. That's not how it's working out. I don't think that she really does forgive me. But even if she did, it still wouldn't make it better because I would still remember what I had said to her and I would still feel nervous and I would feel like her opinion of me is forever changed, which I think is just, that's the facts, right? And I said, should I still go to Christmas dinner? Because, like, it's at her house. Like, come on, right? Um, and I didn't realize that I was also the grandmother's ride there, which I now later on have realized. So, yeah, I was basically freaked out for the whole rest of the day there. After that, I was mad at my husband when I came home. Like, I still did be mad at him. I said some things, like, I spoke to him angrily, for sure. After that, which was expressing things that I had really been upset about. So I was like, I wanted to make sure that I was angry at him about things that he had done. Because when I don't be angry at him, it's not like that means the anger won't come out anywhere. It'll just come out onto someone else who doesn't deserve it, right? So I thought like I was making kind of progress with that. But then, even the next day, well, I had a really tough night. Like it was hard to sleep. Partly because he did not come to bed after that, which is because I had been angry at him. So, like, I woke up at 1 a.m. and couldn't sleep, so I went and ate a bowl of food. Then I tried to sleep again, and I woke up at 4 a.m. and I was, like, on YouTube talking to another autist, quintessentially British, that was her name. I was talking to her just because I wanted to talk to someone who would understand what was wrong. Because what was wrong was that my routine had been so disrupted. Like, it was cumulative. I just couldn't handle it anymore. So then on the Saturday, I was still basically upset for the whole day Saturday, too. And it was the storm. Then Sunday, I had some stuff I had to do. The holidays are such a hard time. Like, Sunday, I had to go get it was a free Christmas dinner and some presents. Like, everything, literally everything for Christmas dinner. A giant turkey, potatoes for making mashed potatoes, all kinds of stuff for free because we're doing not the best financially. And, but it was at the Legion, which isn't a place that I'm really very familiar with. So I parked on the wrong side of the building, which led me to go into the wrong door, which led me to be confused, and there was no signs telling me where to go. So then I went downstairs, and there was people there, and I was like, okay, this must be where I'm supposed to be. And there was, like, the turkeys and all that. And I was confused immediately by the whole social situation, and already off-put by having clearly, like, come in the wrong way and stuff. So then I asked, like, there didn't seem to be any order. But of course, like, it's a small town. People know each other. Like, these people are very comfortable together, but I'm just not one of them. So I felt very scared of being there. Like, I feel so anxious now with the medication. But also, I mean, did I always? Because I spent so much time just smoking weed so much, too, that, like, maybe this is just how anxious I always am. Like, if I was sober, that's how anxious I would be. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should consider myself sober. All I take now is the medication. The medications that I'm supposed to be on in the correct quantities. But anyway, and then there was supposed to be company after that. And there had been some question of whether we were going to make the Christmas cookies that day. So I just said, no, I don't think I can do it today with all that stuff going on. And then we talked about maybe doing it on Christmas Eve, which today is Christmas Eve. It's going to happen today. And then we had stuff going on yesterday. I went to work. Things have been so weird. I went to work kind of because my boss asked me if I was going to go. But I could tell she wasn't trying to be like, you have to go. She was just trying to ask me, and she wanted to show me some stuff. So when I was at work, she was there for a bit and then she left and she came back. Which I had to wait for her to come back. And I control my own hours, so I can come and go as I please. I can just, in the middle of work, be like, I'm leaving, and leave. It's fine. Like, my coworker does not give a fuck if I leave work. It's like, whatever. But I am the seamstress. Like, I do need to work. I need to produce stuff. But I can produce it whenever I want, you know. Except for not on Sundays. He doesn't appreciate me coming, because he lives there. He doesn't want me to come on Sunday. But anyway, so I had to stay there until that time, and I hadn't packed myself a lunch. Classic. Which I know I have to start doing that, because that probably is going to help a lot. By the time work is over, I do feel like pretty low usually because of not having eaten. Not having eaten enough good breakfast and not having eaten at work from not packing a lunch. So then my boss was showing me how to do something new, which I've done some parts of making. It was making ties. I've done some parts of making ties before, like ironing them and stuff, carefully. But she was teaching me some new stuff. And she said all these things, including numbers, like half-inch seam, almost a half-inch seam, like almost a good quarter-inch seam, and like, it was interesting the different descriptions she made. I almost started writing it down in the middle of it, like, but this is something I recognize about it. When you give me a long list of verbal instructions and show me how to do something, like, I'm not that visual of a thinker. Visual thinking is really not good for me. I need it to be verbal. Like, the way I'm going to remember it is verbally. It's going to be remembered in words. That's how I remember things. So, or like if I can remember the feel of doing it, kind of, you know? Like, if I actually have done it myself, that will help me remember. Like, if I did it a bunch of times after she showed me, I would have maybe been able to remember it then. Except for the numbers part, I would need to write that down. Like, how would you remember the numbers? Um, and after she told me when I hear a list of verbal instructions, I just always feel scared. I guess because of having ADHD, like, because I know I'm not going to be able to possibly remember all the stuff that they're saying. And I always think, like, does this work for other people? Like, when you just throw a bunch of verbal instructions at them, they're just like, yep, got it. And it's locked in. Like, is that people's experience? Because it's definitely not mine. Especially, like, it's like a figure of authority, right? She's my boss. Just like I remember my dad telling me to do things and just, I can't remember everything you said. So I know I'm going to get in trouble. Like, I have this sense of, like, impending doom, kind of like, yeah. So then when I came home, I wanted to leave right away after that. I mean, because I was hungry too. But I was shaken up from getting those verbal instructions. And I was also shaken up from trying to talk to her because she's also my mother-in-law. Hence the flexible work schedule too, right? Perks. There's perks to working for family, definitely. Um, so, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I was having conversation with her. Me and her have been very close at times. Like, I don't have any problems with her, really. I mean, it's kind of more complicated now. But, like, I'm always good with chatting with people. But I was talking to her. Maybe other autists can relate to this experience. I told her about the ADHD meds and how I was feeling with them. Like, I mentioned about dopamine seeking and how I am not dopamine seeking anymore and how that was what was going on. Like, I can make myself do what I'm supposed to do, but not for nothing. I can't just keep doing what I'm supposed to do and doing what I'm supposed to do and doing what I'm supposed to do because there's no reward in my mind. Like, I don't feel like a sense of accomplishment, which I now understand. Like, I guess I thought that was a therapy problem. I was like, this is something that could be helped in therapy. it's something wrong in my mind. But actually, it's ADHD. It's physical. It's about dopamine and dopamine seeking. That's why I needed to smoke so much weed, because I was giving myself the reward. I was having the reward. It was worth it. Because at least there was weed. But now that I have the medication, I don't need that. So, like, it's a big change. I haven't smoked weed at all since taking the medication. I'm fine. I passed the 2 week mark when I usually am like, oh, I think I'll just kill myself now, or I'll start smoking weed. So I usually just go back to smoking weed again. And I passed it. I made it. But anyway, yeah, I kind of I went on a tangent there, didn't I? um, yeah, what do I mean? So then I told her about autism too. Well, I said to her, like, I thought I had already told her about it. I think I did. But it might have just been a real quick, like, she might have not really taken it in at all. I said how I also have autism. And I said a few things like,